The silence in our house was a fragile thing. It wasn't the peaceful quiet of a happy home, but the tense, held-breath silence of a library where someone is about to scream. And the scream, when it came, was always the same. It came from Leo, my 6-year-old stepson, and it only happened when we were alone. It would start with a whimper. His big brown eyes, usually so full of innocent wonder, would cloud over with a storm of fear I couldn't comprehend. His lower lip would tremble, and then the tears would spill, silent at first, then building into heart-wrenching sobs that echoed through the rooms of the house I had so proudly bought for our new family. And through the tears, he would whisper one word, a name that had become the soundtrack to my personal hell. Dawn. That was it. Just that single syllable, choked out between gasps for air. The first few times it happened, I was merely confused. I'd kneel down, my voice a soft murmur. "Hey buddy, what's wrong? Who's Dawn?" I'd ask, trying to pull him into a hug, but he would flinch away, his small body rigid with a terror that seemed far too big for his frame. I brought it up with Sarah, my wife, the love of my life. We were sitting on the porch after Leo was in bed, the summer night air thick with the scent of honeysuckle. "He did it again today," I said, swirling the ice in my glass, crying and saying that name, Dawn. Do you have any idea? The silence in our house was a fragile thing. It wasn't the peaceful quiet of a happy home, but the tense, held-breath silence of a library where someone is about to scream. And the scream, when it came, was always the same. It came from Leo, my 6-year-old stepson, and it only happened when we were alone. It would start with a whimper. His big brown eyes, usually so full of innocent wonder, would cloud over with a storm of fear I couldn't comprehend. His lower lip would tremble, and then the tears would spill, silent at first, then building into heart-wrenching sobs that echoed through the rooms of the house I had so proudly bought for our new family. And through the tears, he would whisper one word, a name that had become the soundtrack to my personal hell. Dawn. That was it. Just that single syllable, choked out between gasps for air. The first few times it happened, I was merely confused. I'd kneel down, my voice a soft murmur. "Hey buddy, what's wrong? Who's Dawn?" I'd ask, trying to pull him into a hug, but he would flinch away, his small body rigid with a terror that seemed far too big for his frame. I brought it up with Sarah, my wife, the love of my life. We were sitting on the porch after Leo was in bed, the summer night air thick with the scent of honeysuckle. "He did it again today," I said, swirling the ice in my glass, crying and saying that name, Dawn. Do you have any idea who he could be talking about? Sarah sighed, a familiar weariness settling over her features. She was beautiful, with hair like spun gold and eyes the color of the sea after a storm, but lately those eyes were always clouded. "But why that name?" I pressed gently. "Dawn. It's so specific." "It's probably a character from a cartoon he saw, or a kid at school," she said, waving a dismissive hand. "You're overthinking it. Just give him time, and maybe try a little harder. Take him to the park, build that ridiculously large Lego castle you bought him. He'll come around." Her words stung, a subtle accusation that I wasn't doing enough. I bit back my retort. I was trying. God, I was trying so hard. I loved Sarah with an intensity that sometimes scared me, and by extension, I was determined to love the small boy who was a part of her. I quit my high-pressure sales job for a position with more regular hours, just so I could be home for dinner and bedtime stories. I learned the names of every dinosaur, every superhero. I had built that Lego castle, piece by painstaking piece, only for Leo to stare at it with vacant eyes before retreating to his room. The pattern continued, a torturous cycle of hope and despair. The weekends were the worst. Sarah would have errands to run or would meet up with friends, leaving me and Leo alone. The moment the front door clicked shut, the countdown would begin. 5 minutes, sometimes 10 if I was lucky, of that fragile silence. Then the whimper, the tears, the name, Dawn. It began to feel like an indictment, a judgment on my very character. I started to dread being alone with him. My stomach would twist into knots. Was I doing something wrong? Did I have a scary look on my face? Was my voice too loud? I started to second-guess every move, every word. I felt like a monster in my own home. One Saturday, Sarah announced, "My oldest friend, Dawn, is in town for a few days. I thought it would be great to have him over for a barbecue tomorrow. It'll be good for Leo to be around more people. The name hit me like a physical blow. Don? I asked, my voice tight. His name is Don? Yes, Donald, but we've always called him Don, she said, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. We grew up together. He's like a brother to me. I think you'll really like him. I felt a sliver of hope. Maybe this was it. Maybe Leo had overheard Sarah talking about her friend and built him up into a boogeyman in his mind. If he met the real Don, a friendly, normal guy, maybe the spell would be broken. Don arrived the next day, and he was everything I wasn't. He was tall, effortlessly charming, with a confident swagger and a booming laugh that filled the backyard. He swooped in, kissing Sarah on the cheek with an easy familiarity that made my teeth ache. He even brought a gift for Leo, a high-tech remote control car. I watched Leo like a hawk. When Don knelt down to his level, offering the gift, Leo didn't cry. He didn't do much of anything. He just froze. He took the box with robotic movements, his face a perfect, unreadable mask. He didn't make eye contact. For the rest of the afternoon, he was a ghost, silent and withdrawn, a stark contrast to his usual tearful episodes. To Sarah, this was a victory. See, she whispered to me as we watched Don teach Leo how to use the remote. He's fine. He was just being a moody kid. But I saw something else. I saw a fear so profound it stole the boy's voice. This wasn't progress. This was paralysis. Don's presence only amplified my unease. The way he touched Sarah's arm when he laughed, the inside jokes they shared that I wasn't privy to, the way he navigated our kitchen as if it were his own. I felt like an outsider, a guest in my own life. When Don left that evening, clapping me on the shoulder and saying, "You take care of my girl, you hear?" a cold dread washed over me. The next day, the crying returned with a vengeance. It was louder, more desperate. And this time, when I tried to comfort him, he flinched so violently he fell off the sofa. My heart shattered. Sarah found us like that, with me on my knees a few feet away, hands outstretched, and Leo huddled in a corner, sobbing hysterically. That night, we had the biggest fight of our marriage. "He's scared of you, Mark," she yelled, her face blotchy with tears.
I don't know what you're doing when I'm not here, but you're terrifying him. I'm doing nothing, I roared back, the injustice of it all boiling over. Absolutely nothing. This started before I even met Don. It's him. There's something wrong with that guy. Don't you dare, she shrieked. Don is a saint. He was there for me when my husband died. He's been my rock. You're just jealous and insecure, and you're taking it out on my son. She slept in the guest room that night. As I lay alone in our bed, her words echoed in my mind. Was she right? Was I so desperate for this family to work that I was projecting my own insecurities onto a 6-year-old boy and a friendly stranger? I felt like I was losing my mind. Desperation is a powerful motivator. It pushes you to do things you never thought you would. The next morning, I ordered a small, unassuming nanny cam disguised as a phone charger. I felt a wave of shame as I placed the order, the kind of deep, gut-wrenching guilt that comes from betraying a sacred trust. But Sarah's accusation had planted a seed of doubt. I had to know. I had to see what happened in that house when I wasn't there. Maybe I was the monster. Maybe the camera would prove it and I could get help. Or maybe, just maybe, it would prove I wasn't crazy. I set it up in the living room, angled towards the sofa and the play area. A few days later, I told Sarah I had to go into the office for a few hours on a Saturday to catch up on a project. It was a lie. I drove to a coffee shop 10 minutes away, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my coffee cup. I opened my laptop, my heart hammering against my ribs, and logged into the live feed. For an hour, nothing happened. Leo was watching cartoons, and Sarah was on her phone. Then the doorbell rang. My stomach plummeted as Sarah opened the door to reveal Don. He walked in, not like a guest, but like he owned the place. He kissed her, not a friendly peck on the cheek, but a deep, passionate kiss that left me breathless. They moved to the couch, right in front of the camera, their hands exploring each other with a desperate familiarity. The world tilted on its axis. The affair was real. My gut instinct had been right, but the confirmation brought no relief, only a cold, numbing pain. I almost logged off. I had seen enough to end my marriage, but something kept me watching. I had to know about Leo. After a while, Sarah went upstairs to take a shower, telling Don to keep an eye on Leo. This was the moment. Don looked over at Leo, who was still staring at the TV, pretending he hadn't seen a thing. Don's charming smile vanished, replaced by a cruel, predatory sneer. He walked over and switched off the television. "Hey," he said, his voice a low growl. Leo flinched. "Look at me when I'm talking to you." Leo slowly turned his head, his small body trembling. Don knelt down, his face inches from Leo's. "What did I tell you?" he hissed. "Mark is not your daddy. I am."
You call him dad again and see what happens. You're my boy, and your mommy is my girl. If you ever tell anyone about us, about me being here, your mommy will be so sad. She'll cry, and then she'll leave. She'll leave you all alone. Do you understand me? Leo gave a tiny, jerky nod, tears welling in his eyes. Good, Don said, his smile returning as he patted Leo's head condescendingly. Now, who am I? Say my name. Leo's voice was a tiny, broken whisper. Don. And then it all crashed down on me. The terrible, devastating truth. The full picture. Leo wasn't crying because he was scared of me. He cried when he was alone with me because I was the only safe person he could show his terror to. He had been conditioned by this monster to believe that getting close to me, to his stepdad, would make his mother leave him. The name he whispered wasn't an accusation against me. It was the name of his tormentor, the source of his fear, the secret he was forced to keep. My presence, my kindness, my attempts to be a father were a direct violation of the rules Don had set. He cried because he was trapped in an impossible conflict, his 6-year-old brain trying to protect his mother by keeping her secret, while simultaneously being terrified of the man she was protecting. I don't remember driving home. I only remember walking through the front door, the laptop in my hand. Sarah and Don were in the kitchen, laughing. The sound was obscene. I walked past them into the living room and placed the laptop on the coffee table, turning it so they could both see the screen, where I had paused the video on Don's snarling face. The laughter died. Sarah's face went white. Don's charm evaporated, revealing the ugly creature beneath. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. My voice was eerily calm. "Get out of my house," I said to Don. When he hesitated, I took a step forward, and for the first time he saw the abyss of rage in my eyes. He scrambled out the door without another word. Then I looked at Sarah, the woman I had loved, the woman who had let this happen. She opened her mouth to speak, a torrent of excuses and lies ready to spill out, but I held up a hand. "It's over." I went upstairs to Leo's room. He was sitting on his bed, clutching his teddy bear, his face stained with silent tears. He looked up at me, his body tensing for the inevitable. He probably thought I was going to hurt him, that Don was right. I knelt before him, my heart aching with a love so fierce it felt like grief. "Leo," I said softly, "it's okay. You don't have to be scared anymore. Don is gone, and he's never, ever coming back. He can't hurt you. I'm here." I watched his face, and for the first time since I'd known him, the terror in his eyes began to recede, replaced by a flicker of confused hope. He didn't cry. He just watched me. I packed a bag for us, my hands moving with numb efficiency. When I came back downstairs, Sarah was sobbing on the floor. I walked past her, holding Leo's small, trusting hand in mine. We walked out the front door and didn't look back. As I buckled him into his car seat, he finally spoke to me, his voice clear and quiet. "Are we gonna be okay?" I looked at his reflection in the rearview mirror, this brave little boy who had endured so much. A tear finally escaped and rolled down my cheek. "Yeah, buddy," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "We're gonna be okay." As we drove away from the wreckage of my marriage, I knew I had lost a wife, but in that moment, I had finally, truly found my son.